Welcome to this DaVinci Resolve Fusion node breakdown. Today's node is part 3 of 3D particles and the final part of 3D particles. So we're going to jump in and again today, there's nothing specific I'm doing. We're just going to make something cool and walk through some stuff and do some troubleshooting maybe. And well, one thing, speaking of troubleshooting, someone had asked a question about the replicate 3D using that on particle systems. So that's simple. You can, and there are limitations, and it doesn't quite work as well as you want it to for a lot of stuff, but it does work well. So basically, if you wanted to create an emitter or a particle system, and one reason you'd want to use it is if it's just too heavy on your computer and you want more particles, you could always use the replicate 3D to make more particles. So let's go ahead and make something real quick so I can show you this real fast before we jump in and make something else. So the replicate 3D node, let's bring that in. Replicate 3D. And the replicate 3D node needs, if you guys remember right, it needs a source, basically where it's replicating on. Kind of like any other 3D node, when you do a scatter, you need like a scatter source, what shape you're scattering on. So let's make a shape and we'll just do something simple. Let's make a plane. Let me bring that back to -4 so we can see it. And let's rotate that on the x-axis and let's bring it down. Let's go ahead and make it a little wider too, so it's covering everything. All right, so basically this would be our source. So let's bring that shape into our source. And let's go to our emitter node and let's make a simple emitter, one that would possibly be hardware or software intensive. So let's knock this down to 1. And let's go to our style and let's make it an n-gon. So let's create an n-gon, and we've got that plane. And let's go into controls, give it some velocity. Let's do 90. Let's up our velocity a little bit. And we need to emit from somewhere. So let's give it a region. And let's select our same mesh. And we're going to do surface since that's a plane. There really is no volume. And let's go ahead and pump that into our emitter. And now we've got our little particles floating up. So instead of making more particles, like bumping this up, our numbers, we could just input our render into our replicate. So let's disconnect this and bring this into our replicate node and our replicate node into our mesh. So now it just replicated all of our little particles. And we could go to our render node here or our replicate node and go to the jitter, and we can offset on the Y and the X and the Z if you wanted to. So now we've got all of our particles based off this one single particle being replicated, and that's much easier on your hardware and software, on your computer in general, than doing that many n-gon particles. So that's using the replicate node with particles. So let's go ahead and delete this. And let's make something for today so we can start walking through some stuff. And one thing with Fusion, I've said it before, it's good, but it's not great. So you're not making any Marvel level stuff with particles in Fusion. It's just not happening. I know there's a lot of tutorials out there, make magic, do this, but they look fake. They look like they're made in Fusion. But Fusion does have strong points when it comes to creating particles, especially if you're mixing them with existing 3D stuff. You know, you take that lifelike realism out of it, and it looks good. So it does well at what it does. So anything you're doing creatively with particles, it works well. So doing different graphics and doing stuff with logos, it works good. So let's go ahead and do something with a logo. So let's add a logo to this shape. So let's bring in a logo. And we can just use a regular transform and transform this so it's correct on our little logo there. So we can rotate it so it's facing the right way, and change our size so it's fitting how we want it to fit, getting the look we want to look. Let's go right about there. So rotate that back around. I don't care if it's on or off. That's good. So now we've got a little logo on our sphere. So let's create some particles going around our little sphere here. And to be able to do that, one, we need something going around our sphere. So one easy way would be to go ahead and create another sphere. Let's bring that in. Let's change that to a sphere. Let's change our size. So our sphere is right there. But if we connect this to make sure it's centered on our sphere, once we bring in an emitter node, we can't connect the shape to this emitter node and have the same location. It's just not going to work. And I'll show you that. So let's go ahead and get our shape set up. So what I want to do is I want this shape to rotate around our little sphere here. So I could go to our transform and let's transform it on the Z. Say there. And then since we transform that on the Z, we need our little pivot location to be changed. So we could say minus 0.62. Since we transformed it at 0.62, we go the opposite way. Now it's back centered. So if I rotate this on my Y, it's rotating around my little sphere there. But if we get our emitter node, and let me get this, let's plug it into our render. And let's change that to 10. Let's change our region to mesh. And let's plug in our little shape we have here into our emitter. And if I push play, we should probably animate our shape, shouldn't we? So let's go ahead and actually, let's start here. Let's go to the end. Let's rotate it 360. So now it's rotating. It's going around. And I don't know what that little dip is, but it's going around. So if we take our render, we input it, we should be able to see our particles, but we're not seeing them because if we look, our particles are way back here because it's looking at the original location of this, which is way back here. So we can't connect it to that to center it up. So let's go ahead and fix this. So let's get our shape, and we know our original one is sitting at -4. And let's clear this out. Let's clear that out. So now we're centered on our sphere again. And I'm going to back this up, I don't know, let's say 4.6. So now it's out of our sphere. And since I moved it backwards 0.6, I'm going to move this pivot forward 0.6. So now our pivot's in the middle. So if I go to the end and keyframe, let's go to the very end. Let's give this a bunch of rotations. So now if I play it, you can see our particles are going around our sphere correctly. So let's jump into here and let's change the size of our sphere. It's a little large. So let's go into here. Let's say, I don't know, 0.02. That'll work. So now we've got our sphere going around our logo. And let's get our sphere in the correct location. So let's back it up and let's transform it again. Let's bring it up a little bit. It's right on the top of that B. And we're going to keyframe it. We're going to go to the end. And I'm going to bring this way down till it's on the bottom where I want it. There we go. So now we've got our little sphere spiraling down around our logo. So now let's go ahead and, well, first let's fix our logo. Let's get some material on our logo. So let's grab a Fong and we're going to input this into our diffuse and this into our material. Let's go ahead and change our color up to a nice blue. There we go. And let's go to our specular. Let's get some specular going on. And I want to move the location of my spotlight so it's kind of like right at the tip. So I'm just going to move this over a little bit right there. And if you're getting reflections from other lights in behind that sphere that you don't want, you can always go to your shape and check this call back. So anything behind is not going to be being rendered. Right. So let's work on our emitter here. So we've got our little emitter. We've got our render. And we want to work on our particles here. Let's go ahead and first work on our style. So before I start making any major changes, let's go ahead and leave that at 10 because I'm going to change this to blob. So I don't need too many particles or it's going to go crazy with our computer. So let's make our variance, say 2.5, our lifespan. Let's make 24, our lifespan variance. Let's go ahead and make 8. And let's see what we got now. All right, let's switch that to blob. And now let's see what we got. All right, so right off the bat, you can see one, we've got a problem with our renderer. And it's skipping frames because on our renderer right here, if we go down to subframe accuracy, it's only at 1. If we up this to 4, while we're doing look dev, that's fine. But when we do our final render, we really want to pump that up as high as we can. But let's drop this down to 4 so it gives us a little closer look. So let's see what we got. Nice. All right. So let's make this a little better. Yeah, and I think also I'm going to do a members only video after this one. So for you members only, if you want to stick around after this, we'll make whatever we do in here even better. So since I kind of owe you guys a members only video, we'll jump in depth on this little look here and we'll make it even better. But let's make this one better. So let's jump into our emitter. And let's go to our color controls and we're going to change our color over life. Whoops, color over life. So let's start out with a nice purple because you know I like purple. Let's add, say, a nice bright yellow, not that bright. And let's go back to a maybe blue. So not bad. All right. Now let's go to our size controls and let's change our size over life. So we can start out a little smaller. So let's back this up so we can see what's going on. And let's bring this down. Say there. And then we're going to bring other size up a little bit. So let's see what we got. There we go. Not bad. Now I do want to add a little bit of velocity in this. I'm not going to add velocity on this level because I don't want it going away from our sphere. What I am going to do is I'm going to change our velocity variance, which we can change. And our inherent really isn't going to work much, but that velocity variance will help it spread out a little bit. Make it look like it's kind of floating. So there we go. And now we're going to add a little turbulence to this. So let's jump ahead and let's add a P turbulence. And let's dial in some turbulence. So let's give us a little Z, a little Y, a little X, and we're going to play with our density till we get the look we kind of want. And there, I did notice one thing we need to do is probably change the color of our little shape there. And I'm not going to add a material. We'll just go in here and change the color to a little purple. And there we go. So there we go. That is messing with 3D particles within Fusion. You guys have fun playing with it. Like I said, the more you experiment with it and the more you try to mess stuff up and do things with it, the better you're going to get at it and the more you're going to create. Additionally, if you go up to your effects tab while you're in Fusion here and you look at these templates, if you go down to Fusion, right here, there's some particle templates. So if you just add each one of these and kind of look what it's doing and dig through the little groups and see the settings, this in itself will help you kind of learn stuff and how to learn how to create different looks with particles. Because there's no way I could sit here and go through all of these, but these are a good way for you to just select them, move them over, and play with them. So that is creating particles with 3D particle nodes and other stuff. And like I said, you members only, if you want to stick around. If you start that video, we're going to start off right here with exactly what we just built. And we're going to make this a little better to make it somewhat production ready and something you'd actually use for a project. So see you in the next node breakdown.